Hello and welcome back to Project 380. Last week you saw me remove most of the drivetrain, and that is all in preparation to sort out underneath the car. So I've spent all week grinding back underneath and treating any rust that I could find. And that's all in preparation for something that I've wanted ever since I've had the car, and that is a set of chassis reinforcement rails. Now, why do you actually need chassis reinforcement rails? Well, number one, it's a soft top, and if you're doing a bit of spirited driving, more than likely the chassis is going to twist. And these are going to help stop that. They're going to make the car feel a lot stiffer and more connected front to back. Now the second reason, if you are an MX5 owner, you will know the common issues with the chassis rails. If you do own one, I guarantee you if you go outside right now, they're going to be squashed, twisted and rusted. If they are squashed, twisted or rotten away, they're not providing strength to the car anymore and are absolutely useless. So that's where these come into play. Now to get fitting these, all you're going to need for the first step is one of the chassis rails and a hammer. So this is my driver's side chassis rail, and as you can see, it's definitely not the shape it should be anymore. So as you can see, down this side used to be my brake lines and my fuel lines. I have completely removed them as I'm going to be making new lines, but if you are installing these on your car, it's pretty simple to do. Just unbolt it from the chassis rail and pull them aside and tie wrap them to the PPF so they're nice and out of the way and clear of any drill bit. So the chassis reinforcements fit over the old rails like that, but as you can see, because the chassis rail is squished, they're not going to go on just yet. So we're going to have to beat the hell out of that to make it almost the right shape again. Once you've beaten it enough to be able to fit onto the car nice and snug and not too loose, it's time to support it with a jack. Now this wants to be as far forward as you can get it. They are shaped to fit perfectly. Now it's in its desired place and supported, it's time to take a Sharpie and mark out where all the holes are. Now I can let it back down and drill the holes. Now in the instructions it says to use an 8.5mm drill bit, but before you drill it, make sure all your carpet is out the way or else you're going to mess it up. Now I'm going to offer the chassis rail back up and make sure all the holes are in the right place. So all my hole positions checked out good. It's now time to take it off again. I'm going to seam seal everywhere I need to, give the underneath a good coat and an under seal, and then it's time to install these for good. Now, I may have gone a little bit overkill with the underside of the car, but hopefully that'll be good for years to come. And now the underside of the car is ready for the chassis rails to be installed. Why have I chosen the SKIDNATION chassis rails? That's simple. They're made out of 2mm stainless steel, so they're never going to rot out and should be a bit stronger. They are also longer than most other ones you find on the market, so therefore it should give a lot more benefits into strengthening up the chassis. Also, all the included hardware is stainless steel, so none of that is going to rot out either. And they give you full instructions with pictures. These fit most of the MX5s, the Mark 1, Mark 2 and 2.5. These are also ready to take the butterfly brace, which is also available at SKIDNATION. But I won't be putting that on today, as I still need to put the gearbox and the PPF back in before I do that. It's advised in the instructions that come with the SKIDNATION chassis rails. This next part, the final installation, practice a few times and make sure you're comfortable with putting the chassis rails on and off of the car without trying to slide it around too much. Once you're happy with installing them, it's time for the next step. So to prevent water ingress between the chassis rail and the chassis itself, it's advised to just circle all the bolt holes with a little bit of sealant. That will prevent any water going in between and soaking through to the chassis. Large washer, and then your bolt, and then the small washer and the nut. Now, there's no specific torque setting for these nuts and bolts, just be sensible with them. Tighten them down as much as you feel is fit. Once they're all torqued down, the only thing that's left to do is to put the fuel rail and brake rail supports on. Now, you would reuse the old black plastic bits that went in here, but I'm not putting them in just yet, as I'm going to rework all the fuel lines and the brake line. I've just put them in here for now, just so I don't lose it, and it's ready for the future. Well, that's all for this episode. Don't forget to check SKIDNATION's website out for not only your chassis rails but other MX5 goodies. If you enjoyed this episode or learned anything, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.